What is going on, guys? Thank you for joining us. It's the 23rd of April, great start, and this is the weekly FM show. As every single week now, we are supported by chrisdarwin.com, so go and check out the Johnny Cooper Championship Manager books. Fantastic read. Books 1 and 2 are available to purchase via chrisdarwin.com. Tonight we have Colin with us, so thank you for joining us, Mr. FM Yank.
How's it going, guys?
Very well, very well. And Ryan is with us with an Ethernet cable, so expect quality this evening, Ryan.
Always quality.
Always quality from Mr. Happy. But we're going to start. You're going to have a bit of me narrating over a video which has been created by one of our members. Something different, so feast your eyes on a nice video which you will be seeing in a second. Made by Joe, one of our members, and it's fantastic. It is a welcome to FM Central. So it starts, welcome to FM Central. There is some funky music if you watch on YouTube. So, what is FM Central? I hear FM Yank asking me. The Facebook page, to start off with, it represents the core of the group, the reason we were all started. If you need advice on players to buy, Ryan is the man to speak to. Staff to hire, FM Yank might be able to help. The Facebook page is there to help you. You'll see loads of posts there coming up on the screen. We offer a wide variety of graphical downloads from staff, skins, logos, face packs. A wide variety of databases, the Class of 92, Football Manager WizKids, and League United. But as you see, the WizKids is our main database. We absolutely love them, guys. James does a fantastic job, and we are delighted to have it on. So get downloading that now. We have several guides done by myself, Ryan, Ben, and a few other people. Guide to training, which Ryan did. He's very proud of that, aren't you, pal? Set piece design there. That one's a nice little tip for you. Youth intake. This was done on Football Manager 2014, but it's still perfect for FM15 as well. So head over to the website and take a look. You have our YouTube channel, the weekly FM show, which you are listening to and watching now. But follow the Facebook page or the website to see when we live stream every single week. It's not the same time, but we do have a few odd other things we will be streaming at different times. We have Football Central as well if you want to talk about real life football, discuss the latest scores from your team. Or listen to our weekly Monday night show, which has James from the Football Manager WizKids on. Entertainment Central if you want to talk about TV shows. And don't forget Gaming Central. If you have an Xbox or PlayStation, come over to Gaming Central and have a chat with us about what games you're enjoying playing at the minute. As you'll see, we've recently become affiliated with CD Torrevieja, a Spanish football club, so you have a chance to learn about the club if you check over to the website for that. But as you see there on Facebook, FM Central, and Twitter is at FM Central. FootballManagerCentral.com. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, Ryan.
Certainly, I've watched it many times. It's like a reminiscent of history that we have.
Yeah, nice bit of history. But what topic do you want to go and do first, Ryan? I was thinking we can jump straight onto the tactics, actually.
Yeah.
Does that sound something that interests you, Colin?
Oh, absolutely. I'm always up for talking tactics in FM.
All FM players should love tactics.
Now, some people love the plug and play, Ryan, as you know. But obviously we encourage people to try downloading the tactics we have on the website, but what's your opinion on plug and play? I mean, obviously, what we always say to people is if you are going to plug and play, for example, still alter it a little bit. Don't just assume you can just turn a tactic onto your save and not do anything to it. I mean, for example, going through in the background now is your tactic, Ryan. Now, if someone wanted to put that on their save, they don't just randomly stick it on and go, it's going to work. You might need to alter one of the defenders to maybe a basic defender if he's not as good at covering, for example. I mean, that tactic there, which has no right wing back but a left wing back, just looks absolutely mental.
It fits my team, though, which once we want to go into it properly and deeply, then I'll explain how it works.
Well, do you want to start with that one because I think
The 5-3-2, 3-4-1-2, the shape whatever you want to call it. But yeah, this was the tactic when I first joined Manchester United. I looked at the team and thought this team has too many centre backs, but I all looked at them and thought they're all excellent players. They can all play. So I thought I need to play three at the back. So I'll just play three at the back, three centre backs, and use wing backs. So I chose the wing backs and chose them as complete wing backs. So I've actually got them going up and down the wings, which when you'll see on the average positions, it turns into a 3-4-1-2 formation. And then the team instructions is the basic team instructions that I use for every single tactic across my FM save. Pressure, I want to retain possession. Had a little chat off air just before what is the average passing percentages that you want per player. All said about 80%, which is what I'm getting roughly now, but once the players adapt to the tactics, I think it's just over halfway now because I've only been at Manchester United about 2 months now.
I'm jumping over first to look at the 3-5-2 because I want to discuss this one a bit more in depth than the unique one, for example.
Yeah.
So but there you go. It's only going to show that one now, in the background. Colin, when you look at that, it's obviously at first glance it is just the standard 3-5-2. But as you can see, Ryan, do you not find your wing backs, look very very narrow?
It seems to shape out that way in the average positions, but they're always out wide. Whenever I'm watching them in the games, I don't know whether it's when they're receiving the ball, they're always receiving it narrow, but then they run out to the wings.
It's so strange to us because obviously you have you're having the shape play wider and be more disciplined. So I would be hoping they were listening to you and sticking wide, but they do look quite narrow in the average. But then
it may be a function of the way that the complete wingback plays in the game. So like the complete wingback, right? When you look at the descriptor of it, tells you it's the primary outlet for width. So what may end up happening is they may be drifting more inside to pick up the ball since there really is no, right, they are the whole width, so they're hanging out on the side, but they may be drifting more inside given that that's where the play is and not quite as fully or more temporarily wide, not really touchline hugging like we would expect like a winger in the tactic to be. So they may be drifting more and based on how the wingback played. So it's providing width in the formation. I mean, if you look at the average position, you can see that the wingbacks are really providing width to the formation, but it's wide given how central the formation is, as opposed to if you had substituted, if they were almost wingers in the way that the tactic appears to be playing, since they seem to be almost more hugging the midfield line. My guess is you'd actually have some really wonky little exploitable space on the side of your midfield because they'd be drifting way too far out.
I think, I'm genuinely confused by two roles in this, which I would love to watch a full match with this tactic, Ryan. Like if you recorded the actual team playing, because your central centre defender, you have him told to push on and close the play down. But I assume he's as a stopper, is he?
Yeah.
But his average position is near enough exactly in line with the rest, which I find very strange. I genuinely would think they would have formed more of a diamond shape.
Yeah, I think because this average, I chose the average position based on the game over pre-season, so they were just learning the tactic. I'd put all the positions into play, so they weren't naturally balanced towards the tactic yet. It's going to be something like maybe in a future show we can start looking at, are the average positions going to be in a triangle, and are the complete wing backs going to be offering more width? But this is the basic shape at the moment now for whenever I choose to use this tactic. At the moment it's the backup because the very unique one is working out really well at the moment.
Because I know when I first looked at the one thing I would think is your deep line playmaker in defensive duty. He's almost sitting as a support duty. He's not as deep as I would think he would go.
No.
But then, as you say, maybe once they become more adapted to the actual tactic, you might find you have to adjust it because your centre-back and deep line playmaker might end up becoming a lot closer together. because he's going to drop and Perez, the centre back, is going to push on, and it might end up clashing together a bit more as they become more used to the role. Because as you say, if they're not adapted to that tactic, they're almost standing in just the basic position, aren't they? They're not doing that little bit extra which you've asked them to train to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we've had a comment on the side from, I assume it's James from the Wids Kid, saying maybe the defender only pushes forward at certain times and doesn't hold that position, so drops into that place. I think from what I remember of the stopper role, I think they won't wait, and if they manage to get past the two centre defenders and the wing backs are just completely out of position, then it's up to that person to prevent the ball coming through the defence.
See, I tried to stop a role in the low leagues, and it totally went tits up because basically every time they attacked my midfield, what I found was the defender got extremely excited and just kind of ran into midfield as if to go, I'm going to stop you. And he just ran straight past the ball every time. It was like, oh, God, he's done it again.
Yeah, I think that's more down to, I mean, I looked at every single player who, for the stopper role, the person has to have very good decision making and good positioning. If they don't have that good decision making, then they're going to do exactly what you say and start charging like they're in some army war or something like that.
Yeah, I think in terms of lower league management, while you see these tactics and there's a lot more uniqueness and specialization per position, as soon as you get into that lower league stuff, your Conference North, Conference South, yeah, even drifting into like League Two, yeah, you start putting those roles, those stopper cover roles to stop an attacking, striker, or a striker pair, like a 4-4-2 type situation, and the guys aren't the right guys from it, you get cut to pieces every game.
I mean, I did a post not long after FM15 come out, where I reviewed a 4-4-2 formation, and it basically becomes so dominant just by I kept it the most basic I could. And it was called Resurrecting 4-4-2 because obviously everyone talks about how 4-4-2 is just it's a dying art now almost. But still in the low leagues it is so dominant. I just completely controlled it by just making sure the lads played basic, making sure they were distributing to the fullbacks. The fullbacks were going to the wingers were going to the striker, and we were scoring goals. It was just literally basic play. They were attacking as two banks of four. They were defending as two banks of four, and the strikers were keeping the gap between their midfield and defence wide by constantly pushing on, which was stopping them being able to link up play when they tried attacking against me.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue when you see, and I think if you surf around on the Facebook group enough, you see a lot of people as they start to make the transition into lower league management that you come into the game, you boot up a Real Madrid, you boot up a Manchester United, a Bayern Munich, you can get a little fancier with what's going on. You can't translate those same ideas. I think exactly what you described. When you get into lower league management, you can have a very distinct style that you want to play, but you have to understand the limitations of the players and build systems and shapes around what they're going to be able to do for it. So you can play a possession-oriented game, but you're going to be in a 4-4-2, and you can't get super complicated with them in those areas. And you'll have a lot more success by understanding what you can play and what you're going to face.
Yeah. What I would like to know, Ryan, is with your goalkeeper, are you distributing to your centre-backs? Are you distributing to a specific person, or how are you doing it from build-up?
At the moment, it's centre-backs, but when I'm watching the game, I think it's either going to be the centre-back on the right or on the left once I finally decide if this actually works in full games, because I've not actually used this in the Premier League yet.
Okay. Now, what I would say, and actually start to recommend to people, because obviously I released the Deep Line Playmaker and Football Manager post, whilst doing that, one thing I tested, Ryan, was distributing to the deep line playmaker with the goalkeeper. And I'm going to actually talk about another game in terms of FIFA. Now, a lot of people, when you take a goal kick, you basically chip it, don't you, to the defensive midfielder, because you find the attackers always mark the defenders, don't they? See, a lot of people, myself included, would just dink it over the defenders to your defensive midfielder. So I almost thought about FIFA when I decided to try that in Football Manager. Now you're playing him in defensive duty, so he would be in that gap. If the opposition are not playing an attacking midfielder, it worked so well when I was testing it with Jermaine Jones. The keeper constantly cleared the striker and it landed from a defensive midfielder to just basically pick the next pass. So it is something you could consider, because at the level you're at, I would assume that deep line playmaker is a very talented player.
So I've got quite a few that can play in that position, but all of them were talented.
Yeah, so clearing the ball to him, who would be sitting in the gap between the opposition's attacking and midfield, I think he would maybe set up the play from a different angle.
Something to consider.
Something to consider. But what we'll do now is we're just going to quickly jump onto your second tactic. So if people bear with me 1 second, because I have many screens to jump between, and I can confuse myself very simply. So this is the unique tactic, Ryan. What made you decide to come up with this? I mean, what I will say is when you look at this, the average positions, it is basically a 3-3-3-2. Sorry, 3-3-3-1.
Yeah.
It's very nicely lined up when you look at the average positions. I mean, there's not really an issue with it, is it? Because you have Silva as your right centre-back playing the cover role. And, I mean, you can see on the average positions it's a lot more covered down the left-hand side in defensive-wise. But you're not poor on the right side, I wouldn't say.
No, I mean, I posted a different average position picture on the group, and I had Casado on the other side of Lotzi. So the Raumdeuter was really isolated out by himself, and when I watched the game, he wasn't getting much of the ball. So I changed him into the middle between the Raumdeuter and the other player. I'll get to know the players' names. I've not been there that long. And as you can see now, all the average positions are working out really well. But it's like you said before, why did I take out the right back? The right back, I have one right back at the club at the moment.
Okay.
So I thought, I've got loads of centre backs, I'll use them, and I've now put the centre back at, as you said, a cover position. So when the average positions come out, they actually spread, because Silva is very good on the ball. He can either play into the defensive midfield position, or there's two defensive mid. There's one who's a deep line playmaker. They link up quite well. Edwards, who is the deep line playmaker in the 3-5-2, they also pass very well, but is also very good defensively. Links up very well with the wing back, who plays on the attacking duty, providing the width. It works out quite well, and it's like what you say. Make triangles on the pitch, and when you see the average position as it keeps going around, there's these triangles all there, and the passing percentages are 80% and above for this one, and I've won every game so far using this tactic.
I mean, what I see there is your two attacking midfielders in the centre and your two defensive midfielders in the centre. They form an absolute beautiful square shape. We're going about triangles, but that is taking the triangle and just sticking an extra corner on and just looking fantastic. I mean, when you look at, as Jake says on the side, good evening, pal. He's late because he was waiting for a pizza. But he says that formation scares the death out of him. When you look at it, it does. But one thing Ryan said straight away is look at the centre-backs. They split so wide. And three centre-backs do seem to automatically go quite wide, because if they stayed as narrow as they look on the tactic screen, which, to be fair, they're not that narrow when you look, because they are covering the whole of the box, Colin. So do you often try three centre-backs, Colin, or are you not a fan of it?
I generally no. I don't typically, the systems and the way I like to play, I typically don't play three center-back type formations. I fumbled around a little bit with it when I was in Costa Rica trying to combat the high volume of 4-3-3 and 4-2-4s that I was facing. I typically prefer a more traditional back four, and I try and play flexibly in the midfield.
Okay.
That's really where I try and work, and when I develop my systems and when I try and push experimentally in that, I tend to focus um, a lot in what I'm trying to do with my tactic in the midfield, because I find so much of the play is controlled and dictated in the midfield space. So that's where I tend to spend a lot of time.
Yeah. I think three at the back is something which is not used a lot, but I think if your fullbacks are not of the best quality, I don't mind the idea of it. I mean, I'm almost like Colin. I'm really traditional where I love to have my four at the back, but recently because I've slowly looking at doing a few more positional reviews, I've been looking at playing a sweeper, Ryan, and seeing if a sweeper can still be effective in modern football.
How
So I've
very
been
Italian of you.
that's what I thought. So I've been playing the three centre backs, then a sweeper behind him just to see how he works. Um, and the three centre backs themselves have been fantastic because what you find is when the wingers have got the ball, one of the centre backs moves over, then the central one of the two will automatically move over. One of the midfielders is automatically dropping back all the time. So it's almost forming a four at the back when you're in the defensive side of the game, because your midfield is always going to defend, and they seem to always fill the gap and almost form a four at the back naturally, which is almost convinced me that three centre backs is good because no matter what you do, they seem to form a four when defending. But with the sweeper, it's definitely opened up a new a new strategy for myself to look at because so far they've been effective. They've not been as effective as I was hoping. Hence why the post hasn't even gone into production yet, because I'm trying to get the sweeper role to work a bit better. But I'm still not sure. I mean, how would you play sweeper, Ryan? I mean, what would you stick in front of him? Would you play two centre backs in front of a sweeper?
I think I have played a sweeper, but no, I played someone behind the centre backs, but not in the super role. I played him as a libero, which I think is another Italian thing to play. They'll actually drop. They'll drop when the defensive players come in, but when they go forward, they become a defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
So,
It's
sweeper is something I'm yet to experiment with.
Yeah,
well, my plan was just sorry, Colin, go on.
I was going to say I agree. I think high on my list of something to kind of get into, as another save is I'm interested in trying to delve a little bit more into sort of the graceful Italian football part of with those sweepers and sort of the defensive schemes to see what goes on in there, because I think there's a lot of really interesting tactical ideas for defensive strength that appear in those types of systems, but it's a very, very different way of thinking.
I think defensive-wise, if Chris Darwin listens to this, he will back it up that he hates the way I play because I'm the most defensive-minded manager possible.
You have been accused of that once or twice before.
Just a couple of times, but when I finish seasons only conceding 17 goals, for example, I don't mind people calling me defensive because it's impressive records which I look for, and when I'm getting fantastic defensive records, I think I must be doing something right.
It's what Man United want of me. They want defensive football. Whether they're going to get it, the tactic lays out that way, but it's more attacking, get the ball forward and score loads of goals.
What I would like to see, Ryan, is if you can actually send me the image and we can maybe post it in the comments below, even if it goes against this tactic, I'd like to see, the screen where it shows where most of your goals against come from, and whether it says they come from the left wing or not. Because I'm curious if your lack of a a right wing back, is affecting where the goals are coming from against you.
I may have to look at that. I don't think I've considered a goal in the Premier League yet.
Well, definitely post that screenshot then. But I just think the screenshot where it says most goals conceded from the left wing, for example, that's the type of thing people are going to be interested in after seeing this tactic. So we'll stick that in the comments below.
It is. I've just looked at it now. Left wing.
Left wing, fantastic. But we will put in the comments below just so people can see how many and what percentage it was. Don't reveal it now. They can view the comments on YouTube. But what we will do is I'm just going to jump over and load up Colin's tactic, and I've just accidentally loaded Internet Explorer. Good job. I didn't even know. I didn't explore on this computer. Jesus, there's a blast from the past. Right, just get this loaded up. You've sent over a couple of tactics here, Colin, I see.
Yeah, so I sent you so there's 3 tactics. So 2 of them. So if you watch my
It's
AS
coming.
Puma
There we go.
series, okay. So yeah, so if you want to back up one,
I kind of back up. They just go around.
they're just gonna go around. Okay, so the 2 with the blue jerseys in it are the AS Puma tactics. So if you've been watching the YouTube series, this one, the 4141, is the most familiar. So I, I started off in Costa Rica, and it's very much like a lot of CONCACAF, is an incredibly attacking, fast-paced league. It's a physical, just very direct, high-speed, high tackling, fairly intense uh, league.
Yeah.
And my opening stage was abysmal. They were a newly promoted team into the Costa Rican Premier Division, and we got knocked all over the place. I think we conceded almost 30 goals in the opening stage. So after, and you and I, Paul, had spent quite a fair amount of time talking about um,
Converting
the
you to the defensive mind.
well, how to handle the 4-3-3 and the 4-2-4,
Yeah.
and that 4-1-4-1 was sort of born out of it. So we play a direct counter-attacking style on that one. Let me just wait for it to snap back for a second. Yeah. So the whole aim of it, I don't dictate pace, so I let the team sort of flux back and forth, but we push the width. And what I find, especially with the 4-3-3 narrows that I'm running up against a lot, is playing with the width on that one just peels those formations apart.
Yeah.
And then it creates a lot of space. So the key to it as well was I had to improve my midfielders. So if you watch the series, Esteban and Rodolfo Rodriguez are just a fantastic midfield duo that appeared out of there. And as my wingers peel apart those 4-3-3s, my two central midfielders can just work magic in there. So what I started to do is, for a home tactic going into the second season, I put the 4-5-1. I took some ideas in that I saw. I think it was FM Analysis, or I think it's Cheeky Deaky is his blog. I think that's who it was. But his ideas on sort of a fluid 4-5-1 that appears and disappears in transition into different formations. So you'll see, I've got the attacking playmaker and the deep line forward to link up the 2 wingers to provide the touch line width.
Yeah.
And then I have 2 box-to-box midfielders that drift back and forth to sort of overload in attack and provide sort of delayed defense on that one.
Yeah.
So it's actually in preseason. I played it twice so far because the season going in is still young, but it's worked pretty well. And the last one is the tactic I'm using in a series I'm just playing offline for myself, exploring South America a little bit. It's an Ecuadorian second division team. We do see a lot of 4-3-3s, and it's a tactical idea I saw Second Yellow Card sort of exploring in, I think, his Outcast to Icon series. So it's a 4-2-4 wide diamond. So I basically seed the central midfield, but play totally wide to do the same trick as this 4-1-4-1 is, where I'm basically just peeling apart a 4-3-3 using the width of the field, and then I hustle it down the flanks and pull it back in with a lot of guys crashing the box. And in that series, I took a relegation level team. I think we're third. We're unbeaten in 9 in
Nice.
Ecuador. I mean, the team is absolutely flying for a fairly average. There's nothing particularly special on the club, but it's absolutely flying.
I think it's definitely nice when you get a tactic working. I mean, your 4-1-4-1, that tactic, a great example of, as you say, playing wide was a game I posted on FM Central on the Facebook group yesterday. Was when I as a League One side, Sheffield United beat Championship side Queen's Park Rangers 8-0, and it was playing that formation. All about them they played a really narrow tactic, so I focused everything going out wide, and we were 5-0 up at half time and just completely destroyed them. and it was our average positions was so wide. I went in and I told both my central midfielders to run wide with the ball. My wingers were told to stay wide. My striker was told to roam into the channels, for example. Everything was just focused on getting wide, then run with the ball, with the selection option of run at defence. So as soon as the ball was wide, they were then just running inside.
Mhm.
Um,
I think something that a lot of people, as you see comments and things like that, that at least I know when I post in the group trying to help people with is a huge part of the game is understanding what you're going to face, and then you only have three options for tactics that can really train in the team. So you really have to kind of understand what am I going to face in the league, what's going to be, what's out there, and then really designing systems exactly like you said. How do I attack that? How do I peel those systems apart, and then go out under, when you face it, put the right elements in place, make the right, if you get those systems right, you can make minor instruction changes to deal with the dynamics of, are they pressing us more and overloading and things like that. But if you really start to understand how to design that system to really attack and counter what you're going to see, you can take a team that isn't a humongous high wealth 11 world class players, and you can make them play like that. You can really do some impressive things with a team.
I think anybody who is unsure on how to start the creation of a tactic, I actually put a post. It got Fanside Friday a while ago, which was creating a tactic, and it was all based around the idea of just looking at exactly what you need, why you need it, how you're gonna then present it. And that was actually based around the 4-1-4-1, and it was showing how I was sticking for the fact our fullbacks, and you have it as well, Colin, where your fullbacks are defensive, which then means at all times your team has a perfect back four. They never break the back four, and it's absolutely beautiful to watch. If you watch in 3D, you zoom out and you watch your players, they move up as a unit, they drop back as a unit, which means I don't think I ever get hit on the counter, and if I do, it's the most rare occasion, and it's normally down to a lapse in concentration from a player, not due to the tactical error.
Yeah. When I moved into that 4-1-4-1, and if you watch the series on YouTube, you can see it. We almost completely gave up getting slammed on the counter and getting assists crossing in wide on us because my fullbacks were getting caught out pushing on attacking. And I think to your point, when you sit down to get a team, one, absolutely check out the post on creating a tactic, and two, don't be afraid to use the Facebook group to ask questions about it. There are a lot of really, really good players and really great tacticians lurking around the group that jump in and will offer you all kinds of ideas and suggestions and things to think about and look at it. And I think you hit exactly the third point is, take it off key highlights. It's going to take longer to play through games. Put it on comprehensive highlights. Watch a full game. Watch what the team does, and then start to make adjustments. See what they're doing. Look, you can make the adjustments, and then you can really start to get teams to do some incredible things. And when you watch a lot of these different players who can take these low league teams and pick up all these promotions and start dominating different things, right? That's the kind of stuff that a lot of them are doing.
Yes, it is just about taking your time. Go on, Ryan.
Like me, I took Gillingham, Crawley, back-to-back promotions with various clubs. I had to come in, look at the squad, create a tactic.
We talked about people who are good at tactics, Ryan.
Yeah, but I think your journey to Man United has a lot of those good series. I think even yours, Paul, the stuff that you were showing with MK Dons and Sheffield being able to achieve promotions on teams that were clearly underperforming when you take over on them. You got to sit down and understand what you've got and what you can do. You start putting those things together, and you can really start to do some cool things with some of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, people who before we go on to the masterpiece, which is Ryan's, I'll just quickly say that I started a series where I'm just updating yearly on the website. There's been a couple of mid-season updates due to changes. Basically, I haven't won the Champions League in years in Football Manager due to either getting bored of saves or getting very close with teams and moving away. But I've just never been a top level or second tier side which could get there, or I've kind of walked away from the saves. So I've kind of, for the first time in 18 years of Football Manager and Championship Manager, I'm actually moving clubs now. And if you haven't seen, I started as Milton Keynes. I won the league first season, then stayed in the Championship second season. In the third season, I left MK Dons. I couldn't get another job. Ended up at Swindon. Only stayed a few games. It went tits up. I was actually doing not bad, but just the board pissed me off, so I left there midway through the season. And then in the fourth season, I got a job with Sheffield United in the relegation zone, and I went from relegation zone to winning the playoffs. And now in the next season, I've just left Sheffield United and moved on to a bigger club. But now we are going to actually all sit back and say congratulations to Ryan. It is almost like he has had a child. After many, many grueling hours playing Football Manager and doing the challenge and the story of a lifetime, Ryan has made it to Manchester United, people. Ryan, I just want you to quickly rhyme off the clubs you have been at.
Right, okay, hold on. I'm going to get the list.
Get the list out. I'll just quickly say that James said he's going to do a small review on the Roman playmaker, wide playmaker, and request that one. Anyone successful with the Ramdeuter?
Yep. The unique tactic has one.
Yeah, there you go. And almost like to avoid the new rules because I get scared when I press the buttons. I am looking in them more though because I've been messing around with tactics a lot. I know the deep line playmaker on Football Manager, that's had a lot of really good response, and the advanced playmaker one should be out soon. I've got all my screenshots and all images ready. It's looking at Kaká in real life and how when he was at AC Milan and Real Madrid, his movement, which was just amazing. I've watched a lot of videos on it, and some of them are so good. And I'm trying to recreate that in Football Manager, so with a very average player as well. The idea is to pick someone who is not of the same quality to show that you can do it in Football Manager if you just take the time to evaluate how to position the person. But go on, Ryan, are you ready to rhyme some clubs?
I am ready. Are we ready for a very long list?
So your journey to Manchester United.
So it started at Coventry, which was the original plan, was to take over Coventry and try and take them to the Premier League. That completely failed, and then Paul sent me the challenge, see how long it takes to get you to Man United. So this is how it went. Coventry, sacked after about 6 months, went to Tamworth, so nearly down into the lower leagues. I was sacked there after a season, and I went abroad after discussing with Paul, what can I do? I'm clearly not doing very well in England, so he said, go abroad. I went to Belgium with Royal Regigius Athos, stayed there for 3 seasons, got them 15th in the first season, which they were at the bottom of the table when I took over, and just avoided relegation. The next season I finished 5th. I got sacked from there due to falling out with the board and players not getting on with me for some strange reason. And I went to Russia, stayed there for about 3 months and really didn't like it. After that I went to Benfica B, let's be more specific. I didn't make that much of a jump. Stayed there, had another falling out with the board, and the players didn't seem to get on with me. So I stayed in Portugal again and went to Sofia, which was a lot more successful. I got them promoted from one of the very low leagues in Portugal to the second tier, I believe it is, in Portugal. Then alongside Sofia, took over, shouldn't have done New Zealand because I'm Australian myself, but international call up, I had to take it over. After that, I left Sofia, came back to England, and from then I've stayed in England with all the teams at Cheltenham, got them promoted to the Vanarama Conference. Then I took over Hereford, got them promoted to the League Two. And I jumped a league and went to Gillingham in the Championship, got them promoted to the Premiership. And alongside Gillingham, I took over Serbia, where I won the European Championship and the World Cup. And I took over Arsenal, won the Premier League, FA Cup, Europa League, and all the English leagues. Went back abroad again because Man United just didn't come calling. The PSG won everything there in France. France was ridiculously easy. And I went to Barcelona and just built an absolute force. For 5-6 seasons, I think I was at Barcelona. I won everything near enough, apart from in the first season when they didn't have Europa League, they didn't have Champions League. I just had to rebuild from the back.
What a loser.
In the 2031-2032 season, Man United came calling when Diego Simeone decided to leave and go to PSG. But they're not in the Champions League. They are in Europa League, so it's not a complete reformation of Louis van Gaal, and I've just got to completely rebuild again. So I have got Europa League. I've also still at Spain, where I've won the World Cup and the Europa League, but now I'm going to try and win the National League, and probably after that I'll probably leave Spain, and the next target is probably England. So I've got to try and win everything with Man United, and we'll see how it goes. It's been a fantastic journey. I've enjoyed it.
Don't worry, because I've already got the next challenge, which I'm going to announce now live to the nation, to the world.
This is news to me.
As soon as you are now at Man United, Ryan, I now want, before you can call this save completed, the next post will be you have to win the Champions League in the remaining continents, and you have to win the national competitions in the remaining continents.
So
an extreme Pentagon challenge.
Yeah, so
Asia,
yep.
Asia, North America, South America.
And then what did you win with? Did you win the one with New Zealand?
No, because their competitions are stupid and go over 8 months.
Oh, well, looks like you're going to go back. But I'm genuinely amazing at the amount of stuff you've won. And I just think that, as I've said to you, it's going to get it put in its own section on the website. And like this, you'll go into where it says like FM stories, below that it'll say Ryan's journey, for example. And I just think the Man United side of it now, you've got to Man United. I think a new post, basically moving to the next chapter once you've done stuff with Man United, would just be unbelievable. I just think when you look back and you think how many trophies in the save you have won, if you then add the Champions Leagues in all the different continents, then you add, as well as the European Champions Cup, you've got like what's the one that, you've got the Gold Cup, for example, that the US take part in, for example. Winning all of them as well, you're literally just going to, you're going to be like, think of the in-betweeners, complete it.
Try and win as many trophies as I can. There's another challenge here from James, back to Coventry and try and win the Premier League. Well, they're in League 2 at the moment, so that would be quite a challenge.
I'll tell you what, James. Once he's won all the trophies all over the world, not every single league trophy, because it just becomes impossible.
Well, with the amount of leagues I've got open, it'd never be done.
Exactly, but I genuinely think winning the Champions Leagues in all the continents, then winning like the national competitions, I just think that is something which is achievable within not that many seasons, if you know what I mean. So then you could go back to Coventry just to finish it off if you wanted to.
That can be just like a better version of Sven-Goran Eriksson, who went to China, I believe it was.
Well, yeah, but he hasn't won what you've won.
No, he hasn't. But
I think Jake sums it up. It's longer than the Bible.
if anyone has got the time to go from part 1 to part 5, then I'm going to give you a clap now, because that would take a very, very long time to read.
What he was going to say, but Ryan's far too polite to say it live on air, is if anyone's got the time to go from part 1 to part 5, get a life. Go and get a job, because you've got too much time on your hands. It is the longest journey I've seen, and that's why I think it has got to go from the longest to epic, and I think the next stage would make it epic.
I mean, I think if we look back and I think even when we started this show is when I came on and going, oh, I've been sacked again, and you're all laughing at me going, I've got to go in the lower leagues, I'm going to stay in the lower leagues. We're like, you're not going to get to Man United. It'll be like 2060 on the save, and everything is turned around.
Let's blame Colin. But yeah, that's the end of the show tonight. So cheers for coming on, Colin. Appreciate it.
Oh, anytime. Thanks for having me, guys.
People, remember, just go and search FM_Yank on YouTube and you will find his series. He is number 1 on my Xbox YouTube. When I go on YouTube and click the search box, his name comes up first.
Nice.
So congratulations.
Excellent. Leading something.
There you go. Leading something. But thanks for listening, guys. Really appreciate it. And we will see you on Monday for the Monday night show.
Good night.